Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans, I'm Keith One Shot, and today I am going to do a review of Doomsday Clock number 3. It is going to be a spoiler heavy play-by-play review, just to give you a heads up, and we're going to start this story off where we see the comedian in his iconic fight where he gets knocked out of the window, and as he falls towards the ground, we see the button fall as well. As it fades in the darkness, we then see the comedian instead fall into a body of water, and as he swims to the surface, he sees a city off in the distance, and as he swims to that city, it kind of exhausts him, and then he falls to the ground, and as he tries to stand up, we then see the blue legs of Dr. Manhattan. Clearly, the comedian knows that Dr. Manhattan is there, and that he must have brought him here as well. We then jump back to the end of Doomsday Clock number 2, where the comedian is fighting Ozymandias, and Lex Luthor lays bloody on the ground. Ozymandias questions why the comedian is here, and he thinks that Dr. Manhattan had something to do with that. The comedian clearly knows more than what he's leading on. The two start to fight, and as the fight continues, Ozymandias shuts down the lights, which the fight continues from there. They both get a few good hits in. Then ultimately, the comedian fires 3 shots towards the window at Ozymandias. He dodges 2 of them totally, and they hit the window, and one kind of ricochets off of his headband, grazing his forehead, and then the comedian kind of is clearly winning this fight here. So Ozymandias jumps out of the window, breaking through, falling down, and he makes sure to turn and land on his back so he protects his like red Sphinx cat there that he has there, because I'm pretty sure that he said that that cat was important and that's why he brought him here. So he makes sure to protect the cat, then he jumps from one roof to another, and as he tries to land, he falls through and crashes through, and he gets wrecked. I mean, he's laying on the ground bloody, his eyes all bloodied up, but the cat is safe for sure. We then jump over to the Batcave where Batman and Rorschach are talking. Rorschach ultimately tells Batman about Ozymandias and that he hates that he's really working for him, but he's just trying to find Dr. Manhattan ultimately. Then Rorschach gives Batman Kovac's journal, and then we jump over to the carnival where Marionette and Mime are going through the carnival, and Marionette is pretty much telling Mime that she doesn't think Ozymandias truly knows where they are or what they're fully doing, and she wants to find Dr. Manhattan ultimately, but then she also wonders about Rorschach number 2 and who this guy really is, because she knows that it's not truly the original Rorschach that we all know from The Watchmen. So then they ultimately decide to go to a bar. Then we see Batman and Rorschach as Batman reads through Kovac's journal. Batman then tells Rorschach to go upstairs and clean up because he's clearly dirty, and you know, Rorschach agrees, so he goes upstairs. We then see a news report where they want Batman to, like, people are riling up in the city, they have signs, and the news and everybody else wants Batman to reveal his identity, as he has connections with this with Metamorpho and Kurt Langstorm and this government metahuman project thing that's going on, and some like Metamorpho and Kurt Langstorm are coming forward with this information and talking about it publicly, and that they were approached by a secret shadowy figure within the government, which we all know should be Amanda Waller. Lady Clayface also joins in on that story and says that she was approached by what I'm assuming is Amanda Waller. Then we see Johnny Thunder at the old folks home, and they're watching that news report, and a part of the news report is they're talking about the Superman theory, which attempts to answer the question, why are 97% of the world's metahumans Americans? And it suggests, there's a theory that suggests that the rapid rise in American metahumans after the arrival of Superman was in fact due to secret US government experimentation. So it has something to do with after Superman arrived, the government sought out to create their own metahumans, and they've been experimenting since then. And so Metamorpho, Kurt Langstorm, and Lady Clayface are corroborating the story essentially. We then see Johnny Thunder is talking about his granddaughter coming to see him and her son. They're going to take him out soon, and he's waiting at the window, and they're telling him to take his pills and get ready and settle down for the night. And everybody else is watching this murder mystery, which is playing in the background with several detectives. And I'm not going to get too intense on that story, but it's going on in the background, and I'm sure it's going to play in, or it's like metaphorical, or it's a nice little breakaway, but it might even be more important than what I'm leading on to. But that's going on in the background there. We then go back to Wayne Manor, where Rorschach is talking to Alfred, and he's like, hey man, you made those pancakes, those are some good pancakes. And Alfred's like, yo dude, I can make more pancakes if you want me to make more pancakes. And he's like, I just might. So after that, Alfred leaves, and Rorschach this Rorschach number 2 takes off his mask and reveals that he's clearly not Rorschach number 1. We don't know who he is, but he takes off his mask, and then he goes and takes a shower, and he comments how rich the building is, and how he hates that he shook Ozymandias' hand, and then he's working with him, and he seems to be in anger, and he's washing his hair, but like he's scrubbing really intensely, and he's kind of starting to bleed. And fresh blood, because it looks to me like fresh blood, it's washing down his face in the shower and covering up his face. If he was just washing out stained blood that was in his hair from previous fights, it wouldn't look as fresh. So to me, it seems like he's scrubbing his head and blood is flowing down his face. Then they go back to the murder mystery. It's in black and white. It's old-timey. It's what the old people are watching on their TV. Johnny Thunder at the old folk home and such. And that's going on. And honestly, this CSI detective guy that they have in the black and white, when you look at him, it looks like Clark Kent. Straight up. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but his art style looks like Clark Kent. I don't know if that has to do with anything. After that, they switch the channel as they're watching that show back to the news, and it shows that there's a violent explosion in Berlin, which they thought was an act of terrorism, but it's been revealed that the German government is trying to create their own metahuman, and that Wild Huntsman, who is one of the few known German superheroes, was spotted fleeing from the government's building shortly thereafter the explosion. So honestly, I'm gonna have to look up the Wild Huntsman, because he's going to be in the story at some point, and I personally straight up don't know anything about him yet, so I'm going to look him up after this video. So there's that, and we then go back to Mime and Marionette, who decide to get a drink at a local bar where there's a comedian telling jokes. Not the comedian, but a comedian telling jokes. They go in and they want to get a drink, but this big dude with a beard comes up and he's like, yo, you can't have makeup on in this bar because, and he shows him on his hand, this is Joker Gang territory. This is the Joker Gang bar, and he doesn't like people wearing makeup because that's kind of like offensive to him, because he's like, you're trying to mimic him, and he doesn't like that shit. So he's like, he doesn't want it. So the guy pretty much puts a knife up to Marionette's face and threatens to kind of smile on your face and all that fun stuff. And then Mime points his hand at him like he's holding a gun, and the guy's like joking, like, what are you doing? And then sure enough, his invisible mime power gun shoots a hole in the back of the dude's head, and the rest of the people from the Joker's gang kind of like, yo, what's up with that? And so he shoots at more of them. They come at him, and ultimately he starts throwing his invisible knives at them as well, and sure enough, like, it hits them, so that's cool. Marionette then kind of, it's like her turn to fight, which it's all really good fight panels. Like, there's 9 panels, or there'll be, you know, different panel counts. You got 7 panels, you'll have in different formations and stuff like that, so that's pretty cool. But you got your traditional 9 panels in there as well, which is like Watchmen, you know, and then just older comics in general. But Marionette decides that it's her turn to fight, and so she tears up the remaining Joker Gang members who are going to attack the 2 of them with what appears to be piano wire, and that's pretty cool. She even mentions that one of them's got pretty eyes, and she goes pretty violent on him, and it gets pretty red. Then the 2 of them have a few drinks, and originally when the big bald guy had said, yo, you can't drink here, he had said to them, this is Joker territory, and Marionette was like, yo, who's the Joker? And they're all like, what do you mean, who's the Joker? Because they're not from this world, so they don't know who the Joker is, but everybody else is like, how could you not know who the Joker is? especially when you're wearing makeup like that. You know what I mean? They assume you're here for a reason. So after they kill everybody, Marionette and Mime decide to look for this Joker guy. So they go on and do that. We then see the news report again that Lex Luthor just had surgery in Metropolis General after he was attacked. And then his attacker, which I'm assuming is Ozymandias, is in serious but stable condition. And they believe that the assassination attempt had something to do with LexCorp developing these metagene detectors, which countries have been putting in all the airports across the world because they're really cracking down on metahumans right now in this particular arc and storyline. And certain countries like Russia and Kuwait and Israel are actually using these metagene detectors on their people as well, in their cities and in their countries. We then see some of the murder mystery stuff that the old-timey people are watching, and we see some of them arguing as Johnny Thunder is kind of like just looking out the window. He's still waiting for his granddaughter and her son to come, and he still has hope that they're going to come. And it's kind of sad because he starts looking down, almost like he accepts that that's not going to happen or something like that. And at the same time, the murder mystery is happening, and Johnny Thunder kind of turns and walks away from the window as if like he's done. He knows that they're not coming, or he's going to leave himself because he saw what he was waiting for. Who knows? We then actually go and see, like, first-person view. Somebody is driving a car and their radio is on, and they're talking about President Nixon, and they're talking about all the problems that are happening, and they're talking about Dr. Manhattan. So that makes me know that we're now back in the Watchmen's universe in these panels. So we're in the Watchmen's universe, and they're talking about there's no sign of Dr. Manhattan in our greatest hour of hope, and they need him. Then we see that whitish blue flash color of Dr. Manhattan, and it just flashes in front of this guy who's driving his car. And then on the next panel, we see this one-eyed monster thing. I don't know what it is. It's not Dr. Manhattan, but it has one eye turned sideways, open, looking straight forward at this guy, surrounded in that blue-white glow, and he's here now. So that, to me, is the biggest mystery of this book, because I want to know what that thing is. I don't know what anybody else is talking about or what they took away from this book, but for me, I want to know what this big monster is, why it's here, and why it's in the Watchmen's universe, and what does that have to do? Because honestly, I thought we were leaving the Watchmen's universe, and most of this story was going to take place in the DC Comics universe. But it appears that's not the case. So I'm very curious about that. Either way, we then wake up with Rorschach, #2, back in the DC Comics universe. And Bruce Wayne is waiting for him to wake up, and he said that he read the journal, and that he's run some tests on his computers in the Batcave, and that he knows ultimately where Dr. Manhattan is. So Rorschach and him start going to where that location is, and he tells him that Batman tells Rorschach that it's at Arkham Asylum, and he wonders why he would be there at all. And they both wonder it, and Batman doesn't know Dr. Manhattan, so why would he know? So they break into Arkham, so they sneak in on top of a car, or a truck escorting the Mad Hatter back to Arkham Asylum, and the two of them make their way through. Rorschach even mentions to Batman, like, yo man, your gadgets are pretty cool. And Batman's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I could give you maybe a gadget if you want one. And that happens. Then Batman ultimately tells him that he's in here, and Rorschach walks into this room, and he's like, Manhattan. And he says his real name too, and he says, we need to talk to you. Hello. As he walks to the back of the room, Rorschach looks at the wall, and carved into the wall, it says, we're all mad. Yeah, we're all mad here. And then Rorschach hears the door close behind him, and Batman shut the door and locked Rorschach in. And as Rorschach screams, that'll kill you for this, and he screams, no, no, no. You know what I mean? He'll cut his eyes out. Batman tells him that he's sorry, but you belong here. And then Rorschach screams, let me out, let me out, let me out. And Batman doesn't care, and Batman walks away, and that is Doomsday Clock #3, in a nutshell, ultimately, what I think of it, I had a really great time with it. I enjoyed this the most of all the Doomsday Clock issues so far, as I feel like it moved the story enough, as these are, it's 12 books, so this is 3, and 1 and 2 were slow because they got to set up the story and their world building a little bit like that, and they're paying homage to Watchmen in general, and I get that, and I like that, and we saw Clark Kent in one of them, and then we saw, at the end of the last issue, the big thing for me was, oh look, Rorschach is talking to Batman, that's cool, oh look, Ozymandias talked to Lex Luthor, and now the comedian's there. That's really cool, right? So, to me, this one, the big takeaway was, what's up with this Rorschach, and why did Batman ultimately lock him in there? What's going to happen with Mime and Marionette and their inevitable encounter with the Joker? And does that have anything to do with the 3 Joker theory? Because we still want to know about that. But my biggest thing, as I said earlier, was what's up with this flash of white blue light, and why is there this big monster? Because that's Dr. Manhattan's color, and why would this happen? I'm really curious about that, and I want to know what Geoff Johns is doing with that. I also wanted to touch in on, as I saw on Twitter today, that Geoff Johns posted ultimately that they have to switch the schedule run for Doomsday Clock from once monthly to bi-monthly, so it'll be once every other month we're going to get an issue. I think we'll get Doomsday Clock 4 next month on regular schedule, and then after 4 is when the every other month thing will kick in, so we might go a month without Doomsday Clock, and then we'll get number 5. I don't know exactly what numbers it'll fall on. He also said that ultimately it came down to they could have either rushed it and done to, like, made schedule once a month, but what would have happened is instead of getting 36 pages, we would have got 20 pages, and the story would have been less, and it would have been less fleshed out. And they didn't want to do that, so they want to take their time longer on this, because they're kind of gauging our response. They didn't say that they're gauging our response, but I imagine they're gauging our response, and they got new ideas that they didn't have while writing the beginning of it, and so they want to really make sure that all works out, and they want to give us the 36 pages and the high quality book that we pay $4.99 for, you know what I mean? And it is high quality, and it's great. These are great single chapter books, and ultimately it's going to make one great story when it's finally told. He did say there's a possibility that eventually they do catch up and go back to once a month scheduling, but we'll see what happens with that. Either way, I really enjoyed this one as far as the Doomsday Clock books. This is my favorite issue. I got the cover of Batman reading Kovac's journal in the basement with the candle lit. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that's pretty much my review. I really enjoyed it, and those are my takeaways from the issue. I would recommend this issue the most out of all of the books so far, but to be fair, you got to read the other 2. It is a slow read leading up to this, but I like this as a bridge into the issue 4. That's my review. I'm Keith One Shot. Take care, have a great day, and goodbye.